Hello, 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 and welcome to the My Empty Hands podcast. Conversations about Kempo and the martial arts and whatever else happens to come our way. So I've got Christy here, and I'm so bad podcasting here, and no show prep. So this is showing my white belt, but I didn't ask you about your last name, so
Padigimus.
Okay, there we go. I'm terrible with names, so
That's okay. Power in the name.
Not going to attempt it right now. We'll practice it out afterwards.
Definitely, it's a mouthful. It actually took me a long time to get used to too. In fact, actually, we call him Master Herb instead of Padigimus. So,
Gotcha. Excellent. So just to kind of give a little bit of my background before we get into your story and your journey. So I started in the early mid 90s, at a school that was essentially a Tracy's school. Did that for a few years, got my green belt, and then shipped off for the Army. While I was in the Army, I did some Hapkido and some Taekwondo and a little bit of boxing. After I got out of the military, I then found myself training in Capoeira, and I've been doing that coming up on 17 years now. Be 17 in November. So been enjoying that. Always kept my love for Kempo, and so when I found a school out here about 2-3 years ago, jumped right on and have been enjoying that training. It's definitely been an eye-opening and a different experience for me. Just even though it's still Kempo and still traces back to Ed Parker, the two schools are very much different in the curriculum, and just been getting a lot more mental overload than I did in my original training. So been excited about that. Yeah, just working my way through. Just got my green belt recently, and as of this recording, just got my first technique, dominating circles. I am on that path to brown belt and beyond. So excited about that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And we'll as we go along, we'll get into whatever more detail. But I want to hear your story. How did Kempo find you, and how did you find Kempo, and how did it all start for you?
I have 4 boys, well, 2 girls too, but 4 boys, and they wanted to do karate forever, but I didn't find it in my small town. Lo and behold, it was in my small town. I just didn't know it, because sometimes these instructors are kind of like laying low, right? Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to drive them all the way to the other cities that had it, that were close by me. So I kind of kept putting it off. And then as they got older, we always do a year theme with our family. And it was 2016, and we called it the Extreme 2016. And I said, okay, let's just get all extreme. Let's get crazy. And anytime you pick a word, a lot of stuff's going to start coming to you, right? Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful what you decide you're going to have. Lo and behold, I found out that we had Kempo and we had karate in our small town in Blackfoot, Idaho. That's where I'm at. And I decided, I called him up. I said, hey, I've got these kids, these boys, they want to come do this. First class, I just sat on the bench. I didn't pick Kempo for myself from the very beginning. In fact, I stick to the story that Kempo picked me. And all of a sudden, I'm coming to this next class, and I didn't have time to even talk to the instructor, because he had a little kid class right before it. And I come in, right, and he has them sitting around in a circle, like around this flame of a candle, meditating. And these are 4 and 5-year-olds, okay? And I'm like, dude, how is he even making them sit like that, and like, listen, first of all. And then we did class, and then he had another class after that, an adult class, and I left. So I was like, okay. But when I first went in there, I just felt my heart like literally jump. Like it was crazy. So when I went home and I was just kind of pondering everything and like thinking, okay, because, like the first class is free and then you can decide if you want to do it or not. I was like, dang, I was saying my prayers and I'm like, I want a piece of this. Like I have been working on this type of a connection or this feeling that you get forever, like trying to find that. And then bam, it happened. And so it's just kind of started from there. I mean, the first couple of years, obviously I was just a busy mom. I just took kid class. I mean, it's fun because we still have a student that I train with and he is 19 now. And he literally helped me when he was like, how many years? Like he was only like 9 and he literally taught me Form 1. Like it's just awesome to see. I just love it because he was so prepared. And I love that how when you come, it doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your size. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. Like everyone comes together to try to empower each other. And that feeling of that, like to be prepared, to, I don't know, just be ready, have that confidence. It leads into so much of your life. And so from there, that's the only thing I have studied. Well, now I'm starting to branch out into a couple other things. But so I've been with American Kempo the whole time of my Kempo journey or my martial arts journey thus far. And it doesn't seem like very long. I did the kid class for a while and I finally loved myself enough to start going to adult class and I wanted to gain more knowledge. And when I started doing that, it opened my eyes and I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I study under Master Herb Padigimus. I'm now married to him and that's a whole nother story, but I know that this is part of my life mission or for me as my own personal journey, but then also to help others with their personal journey. And so I've loved instructing. I would come to class and just help teach in that class. And I learned right along with 4 and 5 and then 7 and 8 and then adults. And so it's been a pretty fun experience to do that. And now I'm instructing a lot. I made a goal to become a black belt when I turned 50 and I met that goal. And see, it still brings up pretty strong emotions for me.
Yeah, no,
because it's a
hard
thing. It's not an easy thing. Kempo is not an easy path, but a beautiful one in that sense. One of my favorite things is I remember I was working on my blue belt and I got the new technique, a flight to freedom, and is an arm bar from behind your back. And, this guy that you're fighting is a lot better. So I'm coming back and they catch it. Well, I'm not able to do what I usually could do because he's a really good fighter. And when I did that technique and the way that it was instructed to me and just pondering it and you go home and you're practicing it right and you're making it part of your practice, I literally started almost getting these like, wow, this is like real, like this is alive. And there's always that technique or something that sets somebody on fire. And at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can make this happen for real. Like I can defend myself. You know what I mean? I can manipulate somebody. I can break somebody's arm. So I better learn how to not do it if I don't want to, first of all. And how far would I have to go and read that intent? And now, especially when I got my black belt now it's opened a whole new huge window for me that I'm just beginning. Like I'm just at this very little tiny opportunity to keep going. And that's what I love. Cause so now even when I have kids or parents are talking and bringing their kids to Kempo, I am like, if you only do this for a week or a month or a year or the rest of your life, it will stay with you. Like it is a part of you. It's motion. I mean, you talked about how right now it's kind of like an overload, right? Why? Because it's based on principles and it's based on motion, right?
Exactly.
So do you feel like that's why it's overloading to you or like?
Well, there's a couple of aspects. One, in my original school, we did not do terminology. We didn't do pledges. We didn't go over the principles. It was just more, you learn your basics, you learn your techniques, you learn your forms, and that's kind of it. We did
Angles,
building our own kind of building our learning how to use the techniques and kind of coming up with our own own methods of execution and whatnot, but we didn't, get into, that wasn't really the mental part of it. So now, that's where I appreciate it, and I love learning the terminologies and saying and all that. But it's just my I guess I have a lot of that muscle memory from before, and it doesn't want to allow this new information to come in. So,
because it's so
just
principle
taking it
based.
bits and pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I love
I've been
about it too.
integrating it and kind of going from there. But
Yeah, that's what I love about it too. And I remember, so earlier in my journey, so I went actually, so I studied under her Padigimus, who studied under Paul Mills. And he actually did the IKKA until he went with Paul Mills with the AKKI. And when I was going for my purple belt, we headed up to Evanston. And I still remember coming in to something that was a lot bigger than small town Blackfoot, right? And they had talked about stories and this and that, and here I am, like idolizing a man I'd never even met, right? And I come in and I'm just like complete overload, complete overwhelm. And then honestly, we started recognizing like, okay, who's laying low in Idaho? Like our instructor, like was just, we didn't know he was part of something bigger. Does that make sense? Until we were there. And then all of a sudden, all the stories and everything kind of came into play and enjoyed my time there, loved it. Then when I went for my brown belt, that was my next belt level. The rest I did in a school level, you know what I mean, under our instructor. And then I went for my brown belt. I am testing for my brown belt and I'm literally standing front face in front of Paul Mills and a very extensive board of top black belts. And it was very unnerving and very overwhelming. And I just knew that what they were looking at mostly, because they always tell you, right? As soon as you do your opening, right? And you come around to that opening, they already know if you're going to pass your test or not. Like they're looking at motion, they're looking at angles, they're looking at all of that. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I got this. Even if I'm going to run out of steam later, I've got this. But then he asked me to do anybody that had the knife dexterity set. Well, we worked on that, and that was kind of his baby, right? And so I did that. And of course, how did I end up being right in front of him? But I am. And then after that, I was not prepared at all because he asked us to do, and now I know in the martial arts world, this is what they do all the time to you, right? They throw something crazy at you to see how you react, if you can act under pressure. And he asked us to do a personal knife form. What? I've only been taught, right? And
yeah.
mimicked and learned and did a set how I was taught or did a form. I didn't know about like doing your own thing. I mean, we had been practicing like personal forms with techniques, but I was like, oh man. So here I was trying to perform in front of a grandmaster, a knife a knife personal form. And I did. I felt really good about it. I probably should go look for that video. That would be interesting now that I'm just thinking about it, because it'd be interesting to see how really unconfident I probably looked. But that was just kind of one of my things. And I remember that seminar, and getting my brown belt from him was pretty amazing. And we asked him honestly to go, our biggest thing. So me and the other girls that were there, we had walked in there and we felt like, oh my gosh, like we see a lot of body and mind stuff going on, but we didn't see a lot of that body, mind, and spirit that everybody kept talking to us about. You know what I mean? And we're like, ooh, we can add to this. We can add the spirit. The more, not just giving attaboys, but like more of that cheering or inspiring or empowering or lifting, because women have that opportunity of nurturing. And I have seen since I've started Kempo, the women in Kempo are going crazy. I don't know if you've noticed that, Reggie, but like there's some amazing Kempo women out there.
For sure.
And
For sure.
I idolize them. Now, I still idolize the guys, obviously, too. And I'm like trying to go to different seminars all the time. In fact, for my birthday 2 years ago, that's what I wanted to do, was go to the Unified Grand Masters that Sam Ellis put on. And that's what I wanted to do. And her at the time was like, oh, I don't know, like I've been there, done that, because like he'd done all these tournaments and did this and that. But I'm like still super excited, right? And I loved going there. And he ended up loving it because he connected with all these people that he remembers from, training with and going to tournaments and beating on each other. And I was amazed. And that's where my heart fell in love with creating something, or I pledged to myself and anybody and everybody would be able to be welcome to train with me. I want to feel, I love the fact that I was welcome to train with others. Back in the day, remember, it was like you were with this person and you only stayed with that person and you don't deviate from that person and you better listen, and you know what I mean? But now we're opening a whole new world, especially when you're doing these podcasts like this, to be able to unify, get on the mat, to learn from them. Maybe this person that has studied this Tai Chi has that little missing piece that I need in my Kempo, that extra tool that I need, you know? And so now that's why we're creating a whole Kempo alliance, kind of like what you're doing exactly right here, and welcoming as many people as we can, because we do all have these gifts and talents. And I feel like that was Ed Parker, because that's part of my lineage too, through our instructors, that's really his vision for everything anyways. And he's like smiling on us from heaven, right? All of us perpetuating this art and helping other people learn and grow. And I don't know, it just keeps that flame. They talk about the flame, right? It keeps it burning. It's all about the future. Like, what are we going to do next? Like, how are we going to make this better? How are we going to adapt to the world today? How are we going to create peace in the world? Because everyone talks about it, but we have to do something about it, instead of just talking about it. So, and honestly, I've only done 2 tournaments now. So because of COVID in my journey, it kind of shut down a lot of that, right? And now everybody's starting to open up with that. I can see how everybody's going to pick and choose where they want to be. If they want to learn how to do things with, you're doing Empty Hands podcast, but if they want to do something with clubs, they're able to pull that in and have that too. And I just started actually a new program that is pretty new that a lot of people don't even know about. And it's Ed Parker Jr.'s. Are you familiar with his Paxton Arts?
Yeah, yes.
Yes. And
very
I
different
have,
approach.
yeah, you've kind of seen that. And so it's been kind of fun to kind of throw that into my journey. And we just had a class this morning, so that's why it's popping into my head mostly. But I love it because it kind of brings back some of that manipulation. You're able to get into the philosophy of it, the mind. And honestly, that's all they've explored with it too. But I'm super excited to see where it goes, because I teach a lot of kids. I have a little ninja class and young kids, and they do want a more of a peaceful win-win situation, but they don't want to also just give in to everybody, right? That's what Kempo's about, self-defense. And so I'm trying to see what I can do as an individual in martial arts with my gifts and talents to add to that, or to add more, like kind of how you're doing this podcasting. And I love the whole idea about motion. I think kids should be moving around. They should have more opportunity to explore their motion and make it their own Kempo. Because sometimes if you wait too long, then you miss that window of having that imagination, right?
Yeah, exactly. Um, I wanted to actually kind of go back and hit a few things that you mentioned that just had got me thinking, and wanted to make sure I brought them up before I forget. One of them being I'm totally with you about getting the black belt before 50. I just turned 46. And so I'm hoping to get to black before I reach 50. And it made me think about I believe it's searching for Mr. Miyagi. It's a little documentary film, and the gentleman in there, gosh, what was he training in? I want to say Shotokan. I can't believe I'm forgetting it because I just watched it the other day, but he was training in a style like that, and he was closing in on 50 and he wanted to get to his black belt before he reached it. And I won't spoil it for those that haven't seen it, but it was very interesting, but also kind of frustrating because he had mentioned he was talking about one of his tests. I believe it was one of his brown belt tests. He was like, "Oh yeah, and they're gonna ask me to, the board is gonna ask me to do, all my various moves and things like that." And it's like, "Oh, it's gonna take like 15 minutes for this test." And I'm like, excuse me, 15 minutes for a brown belt test? I mean, my blue belt test was like 4 hours. My green belt test was 5. I take offense with this, so that I had some problem with that, but it's a good good watch. So definitely check that out. The other thing that came to mind was the personal form. I really like the fact that they put you on the spot and that you had to use your mind too much these days. We just kind of robot each other and just kind of want somebody else to figure that out. So having to actually part of doing this training is so that we can use our own mind, we can think, and we can tailor this to us. What's going to work for me is not going to work for you, and vice versa, and we really have to customize the arts. And we have all these techniques, but just memorizing the techniques and memorizing these patterns doesn't help us when we have to actually use this information. We have to be able to know how to think. We know not just the how, but the why, and I think that's crucial in doing the training and developing the confidence and just that mental to help improve the physical and improve the abilities and all that. So good on them to ask that of you, and good of you to be able to do
well, because sometimes we've got to remember, and I don't want to ever do this again or do this to others. We want to strengthen them, not just make them a follower. And I love the idea that I learned, and now I'm trying to instill too in the ones that I teach, that we're teaching instructors. We're not teaching students. We're teaching somebody. They might just only be teaching their mom or their spouse or something, but they're still going to be instructing and helping others to be ready, even if they don't run a dojo.
Exactly. Yeah. It's actually kind of similar to, so one of the, I jokingly say that I wish there was 40 hours in a day because there's not enough time for me to do everything that, I love Kempo, I love Capoeira, I love martial arts, and I wish I could do them all. And I keep trying. I have to stop myself because I'm looking at websites and trying to visit schools and various things. But one of the things that I recently did a Kali seminar, and it was like I've always been a big fan of the Filipino martial arts and would certainly like to do more of that. But at the seminar, the instructor was talking about that they have program through him, and I was like, "Ooh, like I want to get into that," but it's like, okay, but I'm doing my Kempo a couple times a week. I'm doing my Capoeira, and I still have a day job, and
yes.
I've
really had to trust the timing. Yeah, we have to trust the timing on that really a lot. And that's kind of why us girls, we decided that we wanted to start doing seminars too. And we have our top back belts that teach the seminars. Plus we always try to include a guest to kind of give some new flavor. And I just love it. Because what happened is down here in our Utah, Idaho area and stuff, we needed more opportunity to learn and grow. Like, I mean, I remember going to a seminar when I was a yellow belt, and it was with Mr. Randall McKay in Utah. And he like literally just blew my mind. Like, wow, okay. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
he was still so good to me, to a yellow belt. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Here's an
Oh,
upper
yeah.
belt being so responsive and caring about where I would go, not even knowing if I was going to be a lifetimer or hit and miss. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
I felt welcomed and appreciated for like what I was trying to do, because it is a big thing. I mean, what's the most important belt? Our white belt, when we decide to try something new and hard and make it happen. And so, but then when we started doing these seminars now too, and thinking about it, it's just, you know, we ended up having so many well, Herb ended up having black belts that have black belts that now are teaching and getting black belts. So you're getting so many more people, and we need to have an opportunity out here so that we could get grow. And we're hoping like to bring more people from other places. We even have this guy that's here from France, and he studied with Belmont. I don't know if you've seen him on. He
Mm-hmm.
does a lot of things and through an international direction. And it's been amazing just to have more, somebody new that's come from other instructors to bring us new ideas. And we have a couple other black belts now in our classes that have come from different arts. And it's fabulous to be able to integrate their type of motion or how they perceive it or how they're using it and seeing if it works for us, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I'm hoping that that will be what everybody will start doing, that will keep each other on this energetic cycle
Mm-hmm.
of being excited about what the future is to bring and how we can create more of a peaceful or disperse all the negativity in the world, make it more of a positive. Because that's what I used to call it. Like, I'm like, I just need my positive hour. I need to go to
Mm-hmm.
Kempo. I need some
Exactly.
positivity, or I need to go practice my Kempo because
Yeah.
I got to get back into a good mindset.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Um, it just dawned on me that I didn't get to my thought that I was trying to get to when I was talking about the Kali. So,
Good. Yes.
um, the big thing with this particular Kali program is that they say, you learn to teach and you teach to learn. So they're very focused on getting you to the point where you can in turn, be an instructor, and to really grasp the material, you got to teach it. So they get you to the point where, where you're teaching, and then that in turn helps you learn. And yeah, I'm a big fan of that model. When I originally was doing Kempo, I didn't get to join the instructor program just because I was leaving for the army. I knew I was leaving for the army, so I didn't want to get tied up in being an instructor, and then it's like, okay, well, yeah, I got to train you for the last month, but now I got to leave. So I didn't get involved then. But since doing kind of the other arts and kind of doing some kind of things on my own, I would kind of help teach and stuff. And then once I got into capoeira, I ended up, kind of a long story, but I essentially kind of inherited the group that I was a part of, and so that thrust me into teaching. And so I did
That's
that
usually
for
how it always happens. Thank you
yeah.
for your service too. Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for your
thank you.
service.
So yeah, I found myself in the instructor role, and yeah, you gain so much more by having to explain it to somebody else and having to show, lead the way for someone else, that it gives you such a greater experience. Now, at my current school, I'm in the instructor program in my current school now. So, I'm excited to help, pass on these things that I'm learning. But, also there's a little bit of nervousness, just because it's like, okay, now I'm in that
Responsibility.
position. Yeah. In that responsibility, and which I found it kind of, I don't know. I found it kind of funny when I was about to test, because the first time when I originally tested for green belt, I mean, it was it's a big test, and I, was very aware that, okay, like this is now, advanced level, and there was a little bit of nervousness, but not so much. But this more recent time around felt a bit more nervousness, and I think probably a little bit subconsciously and consciously was that, okay, now, I'm really in that position to lead, where before it's like, yes, I'm a leader, but maybe I'm not, I guess, not forced to be. Well, I shouldn't say forced, but it was less real because I knew I was leaving. And so now it's like, I've got nowhere to go. Like this is the school that I'm at, and this is where I'm going to be. And yeah, now for reals, I'm being looked to that role model, that teacher, that leader. And so it was a little more nerve wracking this go around.
Yeah. And I kind of see that it kind of is like the seasons of our life. As we progress on this journey, we do take that opportunity, because I'm kind of in a particular spot right now where I'm having to kind of reverse back. I got teaching a lot, and I kind of lost my personal training. I was still learning a lot, like teaching, right? But then I wasn't finding the time where I was like, oh, I got my Kempo done. I taught this class, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But there's you have to be careful, because we have to weigh and create that balance in our life with how much I'm still working on my personal journey and help lifting others. And you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's been interesting for me to incorporate back into, if I want to go to the next level, if I need to get my emotion, if I ever want to have it, then I've got to stay practicing and getting deeper, or thinking about, okay, how is this going to make it work for me, instead of just modeling or remembering or just memorizing everything again and again, or mm-hmm. adding more to it. Sometimes mm-hmm. we add too much to our plate when we need to stick down back to the basics,
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely guilty of that, because mm-hmm. with my current training, I still am holding on and want to quote unquote complete my previous training. So I still work on the material from my original school. One, just because I spent a lot of work learning that, and I don't want to lose it.
Yeah.
And then there's an element of, I want to kind of combat test it, so to speak.
Pressure test.
I want to apply the principles and things that I'm learning now.
And that's awesome, because
that old
then
training.
You'll be able to try to make it better. So then when you look to doing it or perpetuating it on, you're just going to add that extra flavor, or that mm-hmm. extra element that they probably will need, or everybody will need.
Yeah.
And that's what I love, is like, we need to have more confidence and more belief in ourselves, right? To be like, okay, I'm understanding this. Now let me see how much more I can understand, or how much farther I can go. Mm-hmm. So love that.
So I'm curious if you're familiar with a show called Kitty Kai, not the Cobra Kai, but there is a show called Kitty Kai. Yeah. Kitty Kai. So it is a reality show where they follow. Yeah, Kitty Kai. You can find it on Discovery, whatever, Discovery Plus or Max or HBO Max, whatever they call it now. But it is a reality show that follows some martial arts schools, and they're on the East Coast in so like the North Carolina kind of area. They have these schools, and they're trying to have a competition of who's got the best students, and they all kind of go to each other's tournaments and whatnot. And it's it's a very interesting watch, in that there's just very kind of interesting personalities and just kind of the stories of the kids and whatnot that they're going through. So I highly recommend that martial arts school instructors take a look at it, and
Fun.
want to get that out there, because I definitely have been itching to have conversations with people about this show. It's only one season, and I don't know if they're going to do another one.
I'll
Probably not.
definitely,
It's been a few
I'll
years,
definitely take
but
a look at it, because it was kind of interesting when everybody got so crazy about the Cobra Kai. We ended up getting a lot of students, and it was fun to be able to talk to them about, like, the difference between, with all my heart, I will use my war and shield, but I pray I don't have to, not
yeah,
necessarily,
exactly.
we're learning and teaching how to get everybody all crazy on it.
So I'm kind of curious as to, with the popularity of like MMA, and um, what kind of effect have you maybe seen with students, or potential students? Um, back in the day when people joined a martial arts school, they kind of had the idea of the Karate Kid and Mr. Miyagi and that sort of thing. And now I suspect a lot of people come to a school with the mindset of, oh well, I'm going to be Conor McGregor, or whatever UFC fighter is today, and there's not the same, I don't know, respect, or just that kind of peaceful way. It's more about the showboating, and the combat aspect of it. And so as an instructor, do you see a lot of people coming in with that mindset, and you have to kind of steer them towards, hey, like, this is an art for peace, and not for dollars, or
Yes. And it is hard because nowadays, like, you're talking right here, and it gets kind of crazy because you got the business aspect, right, of Kempo, or of any martial arts. You got the business aspect, and then you also have the instructional aspect of it. Like, and a lot of times what we do now, and I have found that I do ask them right up at front, and we usually give the first class free when they talk to us about it. And I'm like, come and see if it's a win-win,
mm-hmm.
because sometimes if you do have somebody coming with this opportunity or this thing that all they want to do is punch on the bag and put on the sparring stuff and spar every night, they're going to be very disappointed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have others, not that we don't do that sometimes, right? But it's not all about that, like you're saying. And then other times you have some that are coming, like I just had a student last night, and some of my students are this summer, I try to do something fun, and they're working the star block with all the
Mm-hmm.
angles, right? And if
Mm-hmm.
they pass it off for me on this next assessment test, they get a butterfly knife, which is a blank training butterfly knife. It's not a real knife. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the parents of one of our new students was not comfortable with that at all. So you have some that really want it. They want the weapons. They want the whole shebang.
Mm-hmm.
They want it, like, yeah, they just want to get it all going. And then you have the others like, no, I want this to be more of a discipline. I want this more of that whole diffusing of the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to meet everybody's needs and wants and desires, because you don't want to, like, you want to help them with their passion. And so we've had to, like, actually incorporate different classes for that. And because we have very wide range. Like, I have 4-year-olds, and then I do a daytime class that I have, people that are like 60s, in their 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have some that struggle with their equilibrium and balance, but what a perfect thing for them to work on, because they have strengths in other areas, and all that Kempo training, even though maybe they might not move like this other person, they're being able to learn and grow just as good.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that we just have to keep talking to them. And a lot of times I don't plan an agenda. I know a lot of instructors do that.
Mm-hmm.
I wait and I read the room. I try, and this is the only way I've been taught from my instructors and other people that I've gone to different seminars I picked up on. They flow. They see who's there. They get a feeling for what they need in their Kempo or their martial arts journey and life journey. And that's what they capitalize on. And for me, that has been the biggest, like, hardest thing to learn how to do as an instructor, but I love that. And even though I've gotten hard on him, because I had one that like literally would not bend his knees, like would not get down in a stance. And I'm like, okay, I got my stick and I'm making it fun. I'm not going to like beat him with a stick. Right. But like, I'm like tapping him with the stick, like get down in your stance. And at first the mom was like, and he had a meltdown. And I said, it's okay, Sam, walk out the room for a minute, get your composure. And when you're ready, come back. And you know what? Literally, he's been the best. That was the best thing to do for that kid. And it was just came to me. I wasn't trying to pick on him. I was tapping other kids too. I wasn't just bugging on him. But to him, it took him to that total breakdown. And he had to go get his composure, stop crying, and come back. And he's only like 8. I'm not, I'm not about like trying to be mean, but he actually respects me more. He comes to class. He listens. He pays more attention. Before, he was all over the room and just crazy and I couldn't even control him hardly. You know what I mean? And his mom wanted to defend him, at first. But then I finally said, well, let's just play it out and we'll see. And now she sees, okay, he needed that. And now he's doing better about listening to her too. So excellent. It's a big thing. It's a fine line. And I think as instructors, if we just find out where we push and where we don't, and then we do have to follow up with a lot of love, and we got to remember that they're paying us money, right, to make them better. They're not paying us money to get a belt level or this or that. Exactly. And my biggest thing, especially with the Olympics, I've been telling the kids, especially, and even to myself, we don't have to be the best unless we're going to the Olympics and trying to win the Olympics, right? We just have to be better and better and better each day. And that's why, like, our school, our name is Ultimate Impact, like impact them. But to me, the ultimate impact that we make on others, what do I bring to the room? I can make an ultimate impact. I can make it for bad and I can make it for good. And I want to choose to do good. And I'm hoping others will choose to do good.
Excellent. I like that. So I've got a few little kind of fun questions here as we close in on our closing here. The first one being, do you have a favorite technique?
Well, I must say Flight to Freedom is one because it blew my mind to be like, okay, this is real. I can make this happen. The other one I love is 5 Swords, probably mostly just the beginning part of it because it can be so powerful. And I don't know, I like Dance of Death because it's a takedown.
Yeah.
But there's some that I really don't like at all, like Taming the Bear, anything from behind you. People keep telling me the ones that you hate the most, those are the ones that you really have to like work on because that fear of something coming behind me. Oh my gosh, like it used to make me pee my pants when someone would grab me and push me like that, like literally. And I'm just like, okay, but I've overcome that. I look back in the day and I'm thinking, oh man, I did overcome part of that. So obviously I'm progressing in my own personal, and I hope I can help others now on that. That's probably a lot. I really do love the knife. When I was younger, like I was all about Rambo. Like I had a big poster of him in my room and like I had my own Rambo knife. And so to me, it's scary. And so you talk about the Cali, like that's, become one with the knife, and we've had a couple people come who have trained with that and I haven't explored it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the best with the knife, but I enjoy thinking, hey, how can I defend myself against a knife or against a weapon? And how can I do it just being a normal mom or a grandma with my grandkids or see something at the school happening, How am I going to react to that? And I think that that's important. It's super important in our day and age to be prepared. Not that I want to use a knife on anybody. I would never want to. Like I'm more of that definitely peaceful warrior. I don't know. Kind of fun.
Oh, sounds good. Do you have a favorite form and or set?
I like finger set. It's kind of interesting because you can even do the finger set with the knife.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of cool. Yeah, I would say that those were my favorite. Just because it, like, again, it pushed me past a limit. Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
it made me think what you're doing. What are you doing and why are you doing it?
Gotcha. If there is anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, who would that be?
Ooh, that's hard. Yeah, there are so many.
You can do.
I don't know. I mean, I recently followed a podcast for Andrea Harkins, and I don't even know if she does Kempo. I mean, but I love listening to her passion and everything like that. Like me and her have a good form, and I have been on one of her podcasts and I listened to a lot of hers kind of like that. And she would be somebody that I think I would. And I think I would love to be in the hands of Ed Parker because he's so huge and I'm very small. I'm only 5'5", right? And that perspective, everybody always tells me so many stories about him. And yeah, and he wasn't part of my journey at all. I wasn't ever got to start. Well, he is because he's part of my lineage, but that's about it. So
yeah, no, I can certainly relate to that, and that's kind of one of the things about doing this podcast is getting to talk to some of the people that have trained with him directly, or spent time with him directly. As the years go on, unfortunately, we're losing some of the original folks, and so hopefully we can try and get as many of those stories and those insights before they're gone. And
well, it was really fun because I was talking with Herb, and he has had a lot of opportunity, and he's a first generation through Paul Mills, and then he also did stuff with Ed Parker, and it's been interesting to hear a lot of stories. That's why I'm excited to give you a good list of some of these guys that actually have that opportunity, and that's why it sparks it in me like, wow, that's kind of cool. And they were the founders of American Kempo, and now look at how much branches out from that. There's so many people that connect to that, and they've gone forward. That's what we need to look at, right? We need to see the future. We need to see what gone forward. Sometimes I think we look too much into the past and like all this old school, like back in the day, and I get it. They really whopped on each other, right? I mean, now we can't let our students do as much as that, it seems like, or we wouldn't have any students, right? But on the other hand, boy, they really pressure tested so many things for us, for our benefit today, for us to learn from.
Exactly. All right. It's now kind of the last one I've got here. So since Ed Parker was very much a fan of jokes and whatnot, I'm wondering, do you have a joke that you'd like to share with us?
Okay, I do love that. Okay, so my favorite one is, who is the best karate instructor?
Who's that?
A spiderweb. You don't get it? So when you walk into a spiderweb, what do you do? You walk into that spiderweb and you are like all over. You see your muscle memory kick in. You actually react. Like all of a sudden, what is that reaction? And it literally, so to me, I think that's, I don't know. It's not, obviously it's not the best joke.
No, it's great.
But who is that best karate instructor? I mean,
now I'm going to be swatting around at things for the rest of the day. So
a spider web.
So thank you for that. Well, yes, thank you so much for being on and telling your story. And I
It's an honor. It was an honor, Reggie. Thank you. Because sometimes I feel like I'm just super low in the totem pole. And I just loved your message yesterday about like, you don't have to be a 10th degree to be on my podcast. And I'm like, yes, I'm so grateful.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We all have a story to tell. And just as we learn things from our teachers, our teachers can learn things from us, and nobody is above, there's always something to learn. And yeah, even if you have that 10th degree, you can, there's, I think it's important for us to be able to hear everyone's story.
That round table. Yeah. Absolutely.
and be able to unify the people. And I don't want to get into the politics and the drama of
Oh yeah,
Kempo,
we're over it,
not
right?
just Kempo, not just Kempo, and all the other arts. There's all kinds of drama about
Oh
how
yeah,
things
we have
should
plenty
be
of
and
drama,
whatnot.
and I just love that we can put it behind us. We don't need it. We don't need the drama. Let's remember all the
Exactly.
good that happened for these people that are practicing. They were on their journey. Everybody's
Exactly.
going to make mistakes, and now we can just learn from their mistakes, and that's the biggest teacher right there. We should be
Exactly.
grateful
Exactly.
that they did the mistakes and we're not having to do that mistake of all the drama.
Exactly. Exactly. So before we close out, this is your time for shameless self-promotion, or if there's any other things that wanted to bring up or anything you wanted to say, now's the time to get it out there.
Well, like I said, we just started a new Kempo Alliance. It's called Ultimate Impact American Kempo Alliance. It's in the forerunnings. Like, we're still working on the website. It's uiaka.com. And we have just started a YouTube channel. There are going to be some videos that are public to everybody, and there's going to be some that are going to be behind a paywall if you want more. We've just enjoyed being able to finally, be okay about putting out videos that aren't the best motion, and we get a lot of criticism. There's
Mm-hmm.
videos of me, I'm not doing the best, but I'm at least doing something. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
just sitting on my butt trying not to try something hard, super
Mm-hmm.
hard,
Mm-hmm.
and want to just try to give people permission, like how you're giving people permission to share their light, to share their love, to share their passion. And that's why we're creating it. So we can give people more opportunity to teach a seminar or come and, put on their own seminar, let alone,
Mm-hmm.
or do their own podcast, like what you're doing.
Exactly.
So kudos to you. I just love it. You're just out there, and this is amazing. You're going to gain so much knowledge, and you're sharing it all with us. So I'm super excited to hear what you have coming up. And yeah, let's just keep this energetic connection with everybody. It's beautiful.
Awesome. 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 Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we will I will let you know when this is ready to go out, and we will keep in touch and
Okay.
keep the fires burning, and keep sharing with everyone. So
You bet.
thank you again for your time.
You bet. Thank you, Reggie.